Hello, Fundamentals of Speaking class. Thank you so much to all of you who completed the assignment. It's difficult to get through the first one, so that is something to be proud of. This is one of the longer tutorials I will do because normally the first tutorial takes longer. And the first thing I'm going to do is re-demonstrate how you're supposed to frame yourself because many people did not apparently watch my other tutorial videos. You want to make sure that you are in front of your audience. I have never in my life had anybody send me a video where they were facing away from me. So it was really odd to me to receive 2 of those in this class, which means the 2 people who did do that, you did not watch my preparation videos, my lectures, or anything. So I hope you receive this message because that is not okay. First of all, I am a part of your audience. The virtual audience is a part of your audience, and your at-home audience is a part of the audience. Therefore, you need to position yourself in between the camera and I don't have an at-home audience right now, but the video that I gave before did have that. You would show them, and then you would go back to this person who is yourself. You also want to frame yourself from knees up. I need to be able to evaluate you for your nonverbal behavior, and I can't do all of that unless I see it. Also, some of you had it lower than your eye contact, and so we were kind of forced to look up your nose or other areas that you probably don't want to be highlighting. So again, my first thing that I want to talk about is just making sure that you understand that you need to follow directions. And that is by going to the module we're in and looking at all of the resources I provide for you. There's a lecture usually in the first slide of any lecture I provide through Prezi. So if you didn't watch that, you also missed a lot of directions. All right, that's my first one. The next one is the thesis and specific purpose. Many of you did not really have an introduction technique, and one of the easiest introduction techniques is to make sure that you state your thesis and your specific purpose. Those should be stated in both the introduction and the conclusion. Many of you just launched into who you were and then just kept talking. You didn't really say, hi, today I'm going to talk about myself, et cetera, et cetera. I will say Shantae and Autumn had really good thesis and specific purpose introductions and conclusions. So if you are confused about how to do that well, go back to their speeches. Hand positions. Many of you somewhere else, which is fine. Those are just more advanced techniques that I don't teach in this class. And honestly, I think usually so in this class, it's a fundamentals class. Therefore, you don't have to run yet. And professional speakers all have their speeches typically on their podium. There is an infrared screen that is scrolling their speech so they can see it. And they've rehearsed it enough that that's only there to keep them on track. Just putting it out there. I also said that in the discussion forum that I just added to. So some of you were having hand positions that are here. This is what we call a recessive hand position. And I am tending to draw the eye contact of the audience member down to areas I probably don't want them looking at. And in fact, that will make me feel more anxious if I'm looking out at my at-home audience and they're all looking down here. I just want to throw it out there. I also state this in my rhetoric lecture. So if you did not watch that lecture, which is in the rhetoric Prezi, it's the first slide. I talk a lot about hand positions and the way we communicate. So please take a look at that if you want to sharpen your skills in that area. I say if you want something and you know your hands are going to be busy, give them something to do. Simply hold some note cards. A piece of paper can get distracting, and many of you talked about that because it's light and can make noise. Therefore, a simple note card is easy. Again, an outline is useful. That's why there's an outline, Prezi, and lecture, because a written out speech will tend to make you want to read. And reading is not a skill I need to see. I have watched a lot of reading in my life. I'm a theater person. And you reading at a fundamental level is not something I need to be teaching. I need to teach you how to give a speech which is almost like tricking yourself into having a conversation with a large group of people, or in an online situation, there's a virtual audience, which is your classmates and myself, and your at-home audience, which are the people that you are supposed to be communicating with. Which also leads me to tell you guys, you don't have to focus on us in the camera. Focus on the people who are at your at-home audience. Focus on them. That's why it's a requirement, because it's something that helps you to communicate better. Communicating to just a screen is weird and very impersonal and awkward. So I don't want you to necessarily focus on that. I want to say that Abby did the framing really well. Some of you did it well as her, but I just want to point out she did it almost perfectly. So if you want to look at her, that's a really good one to look at. The stance. I will tell you in competency 8, which is the physical behaviors area, what you typically do for your stance. However, I was not able to grade that for those of you who did not frame yourself correctly. All you are looking for is simplicity and neutrality. You will find if you watch really important people or famous people, you will find that they barely move. It's also something when I'm teaching film acting, etc., I have to really talk about barely moving, not blinking your eyes very often, a bunch of other things. So this class is very simple in that I'm really asking you to stand simply, which is more difficult said than done. And we sort of unpack that throughout the class. You're working toward not having that much movement. But again, I'm not really looking for tension, which will create you to look like a penguin. I don't want that either. I want you confident and not over gesturing or self-soothing or swaying, which is what our body goes back to when we're nervous and suddenly we are back into the womb and somebody's swaying to rock us to sleep. You don't have to do any self-soothing. Just find a way to plant your feet, put some roots into the ground, and feel comfortable to talk to us. Filler words. I did say in a lot of your feedback in your rubric for your grading that I would unpack filler words. Filler words are usually there because we're worried as a culture that we're going to be interrupted. And there's a weird moment where I have to be Captain Obvious and say, you're not going to be interrupted. You have the floor. No one's going to interrupt you. You don't need to have the to fill the space. In fact, teaching yourself to learn how to breathe instead of doing an will help your anxiety, and it will also help your public speaking. Lip smacks. Lip smacks happen because your autonomic system gets nervous and you get dry and your white blood cells say, attack, go and help those poor little 4 vocal folds that don't really want to be dry. And then you have too much phlegm because they're coming to save everything. And then you talk and you'll smack, which is also why a lot of public speakers make sure to drink a lot of water before they speak or have it with them. There's no shame in that. If you know that you've been commented about lip smacks, just keep an eye on that. Upspeak. Upspeak is one of those things that a lot of women do, and it's not just women. I've seen a lot of men do it as well, but it's more common in women. And it's that habit where we'll say, like, for example, I'll say my name is Jessica Lopez Barkle. And it's as though I don't know that my name is Jessica Lopez Barkle. I do know that it's my name, and I can say it with confidence and keep my energy through the line as opposed to saying something that will have an upward inflection like a question mark. Unfortunately, it's one of those habits in public speaking and in basic professional speaking that makes people think that you don't know what you're talking about and will say a lot about your education level and your maturity level that you probably don't want to say. Learn how to get rid of it if you can. You know, which is a very common phrase. I use it. I overuse several things as well. You guys could probably catch my habits watching my tutorials because I'm not practicing these. These are more off the cuff. I have a basic outline, but it's not an outline that is a speech. It's just feedback. However, you know is one of those things that lives on the principle that you are in an interpersonal conversation, which is typically between 1 and 2 people, and you can in fact look at their eye contact and their nonverbal behavior to see if they in fact know when you say you know. But when you say you know, you also have to, in a public speak, you need to make a lot of eye contact to make sure people do in fact know. It's also a bad habit. Most people don't even know they're doing it. Therefore, I often tell people that's a phrase that we should probably divorce and get rid of. asking versus axing. On the East Coast and in a lot of urban dialects, the word axing, I can't even say it. Axing is a habit that some people have. And I don't want to get rid of your colorful speech. I'm not trying to do that. All I'm asking is that you know that it's spelled ASK to pronounce it as ask when you are practicing college level spelling and grammar and public speaking. That's all I'm asking. You can do it in any other way, but here, make sure you're using that version of the pronunciation. I also did want to shout out to Lourdes and Shantae. You guys did something that I often advise people in a public speaking class that's online. You thanked your audience. It's a pain in the butt. This class is a pain in the butt, and it's helpful for those of you who really need it because you're fully online. But you do have the responsibility to get an audience. So please honor their time and their effort to help you out with your class and thank them. And it was really nice that Lourdes and Shantae did that. And they did it so effusively. And I was really appreciative of that. All right, that is about it for now. Thank you so much for your hard work. And again, this will probably be the longest tutorial I will do as long as you guys start to follow directions a little clearer. And I appreciate and thank all of you.